Okay, so welcome all for this interview program. So myself, Ilan Cherian, Technical Director at Comet Computer Private Limited, and this is our third session of the interview program. So in this interview program, today we'll be going to discuss about how to prepare and deliver the technical content. So whenever you are facing an interview, whenever you are attending an interview, so obviously you're going to be asked to explain about the technical uh, contents like they may ask you about what is Active Directory service, what is replication, what is DHCP, what is DNS, what is RAID. So they'll be throwing you some questions. So you need to answer for the questions. So here this interview, through this interview program, you can understand how to deliver the technical contents whenever you are asked with this kind of questions. uh, First of all, here I have just created a simple rule for preparing the technical contents for your interview. So first of all, whenever you're preparing for the interview, whenever you're preparing the technical contents, as like I said earlier, you are asked about uh, explaining about any particular topic or any particular concept. First of all, whenever you're delivering, so you need to first, in a simple one line or two line, you need to explain about the concept, and then you need to again explain very simply in one line or two line why that particular concept is used. And the next thing is, and also you need to explain in one or two lines how the concept is working. And after giving these three information, first you're going to explain. Say example, if someone is asking you about what is brief about DHCP or explain about DHCP. So first of all, you need to say like this: uh, uh, DHCP is dynamic host configuration protocol, and this is used to assign IP address for the network devices automatically. And this IP address assignment is going to work based on the MAC address of the requested client machine. So like this, just given a simple lines and a simple content is enough to start with initially. And then you need to give the detailed explanation, because we people usually give only the simple answers. But whenever you're into an interview, whenever a technical question is thrown towards you, so you need to give a complete and detailed explanation. Usually whenever you're uh, giving an answer, and the next question will be from your answer itself. Most of you would have experienced this. So first, they'll ask some question and you'll be giving an answer. From that answer, they'll be asking, okay, give me the additional example, explanation. So, say example, if you're saying that DHCP is to assign IP address automatically for the network devices, and it is going to assign the IP address to the network devices by holding the MAC address of the client machine. And again, the interviewer might ask you, okay, explain me the process, how it works. Or he may ask you, explain the DHCP process. Or he may ask you about uh, uh, the DHCP scope and the scope options. So whenever you are giving any answer, from your answer, the interviewer should not ask the next question. You should not allow that. So you cannot say that interviewer should not ask any questions from your answer, but the answer should be in such a way that the interviewer should not be able to find any questions after my answer. So this is how your delivery should be. This is how your answer should be. So whenever you're explaining about the concept, so you need to give the complete explanation where the interviewer should not be able to get any questions from the given answer. And also you need to explain all other information related to the questioned topic. And one more important thing, whenever you're giving any answer, you should not complete your answer before the interviewer asks you to stop. There are different kind of interviewers, but most of the interviewers will expect you to speak more, will expect you to give more explanation about the particular topic or the concept. So for any given topic or for given any concept, you should be able to explain about the concept or the topic at least 10 to 15 minutes or 20 minutes. So you should the interviewer uh, should be satisfied with whatever you are delivering. So so that the interviewer should move to the next topic. He should not ask any question on the same topic. So in such a way your answer should be, that is, whenever you're giving the elaborate and the detailed answer, definitely the interviewer, whatever the questions the interviewer thought to question you, all the questions previously you would have answered for that, so that the interviewer might not find any new questions from your answer. So obviously the interviewer will be forced to move to the next topic, and obviously you'll be asked questions from the another topic. So here I'll just give you a sample how your content delivery should be. And not only the content delivery, this is how you have to prepare yourself for the interview. If you decide you're going to attend interview for a Wintel profile. So in the previous session, we have discussed about what are all the topics you need to concentrate, what are all the topics you need to prepare in the Windows part. So for all the topics which we have discussed in the previous session, for all the topics you can prepare the content as like whatever I'm going to show you now. So if you prepare that content in that way, and if you're delivering in that way, definitely the success rate in the technical interview is going to be high. So now I'll explain you, and I'll brief you about a particular topic. So say example, if an interviewer is asking me about he is asking me to brief about DNS, or he is asking me, okay, explain about DNS, or he is asking me tell me what is DNS. So whatever he may ask about DNS in general, if he is particular with, okay, tell me the DNS resource record, so in that case you can explain about the DNS records alone. If the interviewer is asking in general, what is DNS, explain DNS, tell about DNS, so in that case you can easily understand that the interviewer is expecting the detailed answer. Or if the interviewer is pinpointing any particular thing, say example, if he is asking, okay, tell me what are all the DNS zones, in that case you can just explain only about DNS zone, that's enough. But if the interviewer is asking you in general, brief about the DNS, or brief about the DHCP, or brief about Active Directory service, or brief about Active Directory replication. So for this kind of general questions, so you should give the detailed explanation. So I'll just start my delivery of the particular answer. So whenever I'm asked about the DNS, I should start with like this. So DNS is a naming system used to name a computer, or domain, or a websites. And also DNS is whenever a name is used to access any network computer or a network service, the name has to be resolved to the corresponding computer's IP address. And DNS is used to resolve a computer or a domain name or a website name into its corresponding IP address, and the IP address into the corresponding name. And the DNS server resolves the name using the resource records. So the DNS server will be maintaining the resource records, which contains the name and IP address information of the network or domain computers. And using these DNS resource records maintained in the database of the DNS service, so the DNS server is able to resolve the names. The resource records of the uh, that is maintained by the DNS server or host record, alias record, name server record, mail exchange record, pointer record, start of authority record, and the service locator record. And further explaining about the resource records. So first we can start with the host record. So host record will store the name and IP address of the computer or the domain. And for every computer in the network or a domain, a host record will be created. Whenever a name resolution request is received by the DNS server, it searches for the A record for the requested name to resolve it. So this resource record is used to resolve name to IP address. And explaining about the alias record. So alias record is created by the administrator based on the requirement for accessing a network computer or a service or a website with any alternate name other than the host name. In alias record, the alias name will be pointing to the particular system's host record for which the alias name is created. Alias record is also referred by the DNS server to resolve the names while any name resolution request is given. And also explaining about the name server. So the name server record will store the name and IP address of the DNS service available for the particular domain. And this record is used by the DNS server to be aware of the other DNS servers in the domain. With this information, so the DNS server can forward the queries to the other DNS server for resolving the names. And when a zone is created, the record is created automatically. And explaining about the mail exchange record, so it maintains the details of the email servers available for the particular domain. It also contains the domain name and the host name for the email server for the particular domain. And when a name resolution request is given to the DNS server where the requested name contains @ character, the DNS server will be searching for the MX record for the requested name to resolve the email server's IP address. And further explaining about the start of authority record, start of authority record will store the name of the authorized DNS server of that particular domain. And only the authorized DNS server can update the DNS resource records. So it also contains the zone refresh interval, record TTL, and the version of the zone. So when a zone is created, so this record will be created automatically. And further explaining about the pointer record. So pointer record stores the same information that is stored in the host record. So it also stores the IP address and name of the computer and the domain. So this record is created by the administrator based on the requirement. And this record is used for resolving IP address to name. And further explaining about the service locator record. So this record is will be storing the name and port number information of the domain controllers and the services related to the Active Directory domain. And these records are created automatically when a DNS is integrated with Active Directory. So this record are created and used in Active Directory domain environment for domain controller to domain controller communication and the client to domain controller communication. And basically it stores the records for the Kerberos, LDAP, and the global catalog services. And further explaining about the DNS zones. So basically DNS zone is the authoritative source for information about each DNS domain name that is included in the zone or the domain. And the Windows DNS service is included with three type of zone: primary zone, secondary zone, and stub zone. And explaining about the primary zone. So primary zone is the primary source of information about the zone, which store their zone information in a writable database in a local file or in Active Directory domain service. So this zone data can be used for resolving names. A primary zone may contain a subzone or a child zone. So the DNS server in which the primary zone is configured is the primary DNS server. And any changes to the resource records can be done only in the primary DNS server. And further explaining about the secondary zone. Secondary zone is a secondary source of information about this zone, so which stores their zone information as a read-only copy. So it updates the zone data from the zone's primary DNS server and the other secondary DNS server, which is configured for it as the master server. And a secondary DNS server maintains a complete read-only copy of the zone for which it is a secondary. And the server in which the secondary zone is configured is a secondary DNS server. And the changes cannot be done in the secondary DNS server directly. So this server can also be used to resolve the names. And also explaining about the stub zone. Stub zone also maintains the read-only copy of the zone data. So administrators cannot manually add or modify any resource records on it. So it updates the zone data from the zone's primary server or another secondary server, but stub zone contains only three kind of records. That is A record, name server record, and the start of authority record. And one more thing about the stub zone is it can be integrated with Active Directory. So there they can make use of the Active Directory replication to propagate their information to all domain controllers on the particular network. And further explaining about the DNS lookup zones. So there are basically two type of lookup zones are there: forward lookup zone and reverse lookup zone. So basically, the forward lookup zone is a DNS zone in which the host name to IP address related informations are stored. And when a computer asks for IP address for a particular host name, so the forward lookup zone is verified and the desired result is returned to the client. And speaking about the reverse lookup zone, so reverse lookup zone is a DNS zone in which IP address to host name related informations are stored. So when a computer asks for a specific host name with the IP address, so the reverse lookup zone is verified and the desired result is returned back to the client. And further explaining about the DNS forwarder, basically, the DNS forwarder is a DNS server that is used to forward DNS queries for the external DNS names to DNS servers outside the network. So it does it to the DNS queries that it cannot resolve locally. By using DNS forwarders, you can improve the efficiency of the name resolution of the computers in your network that query for DNS names outside your network. And further explaining about the conditional forwarder. So the conditional forwarders are DNS servers that only forward a query for a specific domain names. So instead of forwarding all queries, it cannot resolve locally to a forwarder. A conditional forwarder is configured to forward a query to a specific forwarder. So based on the domain name contained in the query. So forwarding according to the domain names improves conventional forwarding by adding a name-based condition to the forwarding process. And further explaining about the DNS root hints. So these root hints enable any DNS server to locate the DNS root servers. So basically the root hints provides a list of preliminary resource records that can be used by the DNS service to locate other DNS servers that are authoritative for the root of the DNS domain name space tree. And again explaining about the DNS root servers. So basically, after the uh, uh, DNS server locates the DNS root server, so it can resolve any queries for that particular namespace. So the authoritative name server that serve the DNS root zone, commonly known as the root servers, or a network of hundreds of name servers in many countries around the world. So which usually we call it as a DNS root servers. And further explaining about the DNS queries. So when a user tries to access any web application or a website or any target using the name, for example with sample.com, so their web browser or the application performs a DNS query, that is it requests for the IP address. So against a DNS server supplying the host name. So a component called a DNS resolver is responsible for checking if the host name is available in the local cache, and if not, contact a series of DNS name servers until eventually it receives the IP address of the service the user is trying to reach and returns it to the browser or the application within few seconds. And there are basically three type of queries are there. So non-recursive query and recursive query. So an iterative query. So the recursive query is in which the DNS client provides a host name and the DNS resolver must provide an answer. It responds with either a relevant resource record or an error message if it cannot find the particular name. So the resolver starts a recursive query process starting from the DNS root server until it finds the authoritative name server that holds the IP address and the other information of the requested name. And speaking about the iterative query, in an iterative query, a DNS client provides the host name and the DNS resolver returns the best answer it can. If the DNS resolver has the relevant DNS resource records in its cache, it returns them. If not, it refers the DNS client to the root server or another authoritative name server which is nearest to the required DNS zone. So the DNS client must then repeat the query directly against the DNS server it was referred to. And the non-recursive query. So non-recursive query is a query in which the DNS resolver already knows the answer. So it either immediately returns a DNS resource record because it already stores it in the local cache, or queries a DNS server which is authoritative for the record, meaning it definitely holds the correct IP address for that particular host name. In both cases, there is no need of additional rounds of queries like the recursive or the iterative queries. So rather, a response is immediately returned to the client. And further explaining about the DNS aging and scavenging. So aging and scavenging is a DNS server service which supports a mechanism for performing cleaning up and removal of stale resource records which can accumulate in DNS zone data over time. So it helps to maintain the dynamic DNS environments by regular deletion of stale resource records from the DNS database. And aging is the process of identifying the stale DNS records, and the scavenging is the process of removal and cleaning up of stale or old resource records from the DNS zone. And this is how you have to explain whenever you are asked to answer about any particular topic. So you need to give the complete and the detailed answer. So from this sample delivery, you'd have understood that. So now by this delivery, all the questions, whatever the interviewer will ask you, all the answers related to the DNS is completely delivered to the interviewer. So in this case, obviously the interviewer will not be able to ask any other questions related to the theoretical part. Maybe in other case, the interviewer might ask you to deliver about the practical scenarios like how will you configure it and how will you troubleshoot this. So the practical related questions, how to face the practical related questions or how to face the scenario based questions. So this will be discussing in another session. So through this session, I want you all to understand how the content delivery should be. And for delivering this much of content, obviously, first of all, you should have a very good preparation. So where you need to collect the information related to the topic from many sources. Maybe if you are searching in the Google, or if you are searching from any other websites. So my suggestion is whenever you are trying to collect the uh, technical information, don't depend on any one particular site or two sites, or you do not rely on one particular site or same site for all the topics. So my suggestion is when you are preparing your technical contents, whichever I have listed in the previous session, so you can just go through the uh, at least three different websites, collect the information from all three websites and take a note of the technical content, and then you just go through those technical contents and you pick it up the comfortable on the exact technical points which has to be delivered in the interview. So you need to first write down the technical contents point by point. So in interview, whenever you are asked any question, so what are all the points you are going to deliver over there? First, you frame the answer, you frame the content. So after framing the technical content, you just take two or three versions. You revise the content again and again, two or three times you revise the content, and finally you create a final version of the technical content. And then you just try to deliver this content. You just try to deliver this in front of the mirror, or try to deliver this in front of your video recording in your mobile, or through whatever the sources you can prefer, or you can deliver the content in front of your friend, or through anyone. So the ultimate thing is, see, whenever you face the technical interview, two things will face. One is the interviewer might have asked you a question which you don't know the answer. The other thing is, the interviewer will ask some question for that you know the answer, but at that instance you will not be able to deliver. So for handling this second uh, situation, the very big uh, solution or the remedy is, you practice the delivery. You first prepare the content what you want to deliver, and you practice the delivery. So once you repeatedly practice this delivery, obviously all these technical contents will be in your subconscious mind. When you are delivering the technical content, you need not to recall it, because while delivering any technical answers or any questions, so your foremind will be concentrating on the delivery, and your the back mind will be recollecting the stored informations. So the recollecting the stored information may take time, or sometimes the recollection process may not work in your mind. So to avoid this, so the exercise what I have suggested you, just repeatedly practice the delivery. You repeatedly practice the content delivery in front of mirror, or in front of your friend, or in front of your mobile phone recording. So this will give you the confidence, and also this will uh, practice your mind to deliver the content without taking much time for recollecting the uh, informations. So this is my suggestions for you all. So definitely this exercise and this practice will give you a better opportunity and a better uh, success rate in the interviews. So once again I repeat, if anyone who haven't attended the previous interview program, you can just refer my uh, YouTube channel, where I have posted the previous two sessions recordings, so that you can refer those, so that you can have the list of topics which you want to prepare, and also how to prepare the content and how to deliver the content. And I hope you all got an idea how to prepare the technical contents, and how to deliver the technical contents, and how to uh, make yourself comfortable in the delivery. So this is what my input is for you all, and that's all for today's session. And how to face the technical scenario based questions, so that we'll be discussing in the next session. So, and that's all for today's session. And any